The humiliation was no accident, it was a deliberate, coldly calculated move. Marcus Reed, a decorated veteran of the Army Special Forces, stood still as Catherine, the lead flight attendant, denied him his legitimate first-class seat with an air of rehearsed disdain. "Perhaps you'd be more at ease somewhere else," she suggested, her words slicing through the stale cabin air. Passengers stared, a few snickered, others looked away, but none of them noticed the distinguished older gentleman seated in first class, General Robert Huxley, who observed with frosty satisfaction as his former subordinate retreated to coach without protest. They couldn't know that this humiliating slight was merely the first step in Huxley's twisted plan to erase the only man who could expose his buried secrets. Marcus checked his watch as he squeezed into his new cramped seat. 45 minutes, that was all he had to uncover the truth before every soul on Flight 303 turned into pawns of a deadly scheme years in the making. The terminal churned with its usual sea of harried travelers streaming toward their gates. Marcus Reed advanced through the crowds with calm precision, his weathered olive-drab military jacket hanging loosely on wide shoulders. The faded American flag patch on the sleeve had seen far better days, like the man wearing it. He carried only a battered duffel bag slung across his shoulder, moving with the patient stride of someone who knew how to save his strength for the battles that counted. Flight 303 bound for Denver was boarding as Marcus reached the gate. He stood quietly while families with children and passengers needing assistance were called first. When first class was announced, he stepped forward with ticket in hand. The boarding agent gave him a quick nod, waving him on without question. But as soon as he stepped onto the plane, trouble showed its first signs. Catherine Daniels, the head attendant, was greeting passengers with a polished smile that froze the moment Marcus approached. Her blue eyes flicked from his face to his jacket, then down to the ticket he offered. "First class?" she asked, a sharp note of skepticism in her voice that drew the attention of several other passengers. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus answered, deep voice steady but soft. He had learned that calm tones carried more power than shouting ever could. Catherine's manicured fingers gripped the boarding pass as if it might prove counterfeit. "That can't be correct," she muttered, making sure others could hear. "Is there a problem?" Marcus asked, holding onto his composure even as that all-too-familiar sting settled in his stomach. "This seat, 2A, it's first class," Catherine said, as though the very notion was absurd. Marcus nodded. "That's right." Another flight attendant, younger with kind eyes and a badge reading Emily, stepped over. "Is everything okay, Catherine?" Catherine shoved the ticket toward her. "Double-check this. He claims he's in 2A. Emily glanced over the pass, then at Marcus, offering a small apologetic smile. "This is correct, sir. Seat 2A in first class." Even with the confirmation, Catherine shook her head slightly. "There must be some mistake. We have procedures." She left the word hanging in the stale air. "What procedures exactly?" Marcus asked, still calm, though the edge in his tone revealed a man who had fought this same fight countless times. Before Catherine could answer, a middle-aged white man already seated in first class leaned over with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes, his expensive watch catching the cabin light. "Probably picked that ticket up off Craigslist," he drawled. A few passengers laughed. Marcus didn't react, keeping the same unflinching stillness he'd relied on in far worse situations than casual bigotry at 30,000 feet. "Sir," Catherine finally said, handing his pass back with barely concealed relief, "perhaps you'd find another section more comfortable." Marcus felt the weight of dozens of eyes on him, some curious, others scornful, a few sympathetic. For a moment, his mind went elsewhere, a desert battlefield in Chad, the weight of his rifle, the medals once pinned to his chest before they took them away, the memory of a young lieutenant named Huxley, bloodied but alive because Marcus had refused to abandon him. He blinked, pulling back into the present. He could push this, make a scene, but his instincts screamed not here, not now. "That's fine," he said, reclaiming his boarding pass. "I'll go to coach." Catherine visibly relaxed as she pointed him toward the rear of the plane. As Marcus made his way down the narrow aisle, he noted 3 men seated in the center rows who didn't fit in with the vacationing passengers. Their haircuts, posture, the way their eyes quietly swept the cabin, they carried the unmistakable air of military men. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with close-cropped blonde hair and a square jaw showing old scars, gave Marcus the briefest nod of recognition. Commander Ryan Chase, Navy SEAL. They crossed paths in assignments that officially never happened. The 2 men beside him clearly carried the same disciplined coil of tension in their bodies. Marcus returned the nod almost imperceptibly before moving on. His reassigned seat was 22C, a cramped middle seat in coach. He slipped into it, stashing his duffel under the seat in front of him. Moments later, a young woman with a mop of curly auburn hair and lively green eyes settled into the window seat beside him. She wrestled with a too large backpack, cursing under her breath. "Ridiculous, these seats were made for hobbits," she muttered, finally cramming the bag under the seat. She turned to Marcus with a friendly grin. "Hi there, I'm Natalie Bennett. Looks like we're neighbors for a while." "Marcus Reed," he replied, offering a quick handshake. Natalie tilted her head, studying him. "I saw what went down up front," she said in a hushed voice. "That was messed up." Marcus gave a small shrug. "It happens." "That doesn't make it right," Natalie shot back, righteous fire in her tone. "I'm a law student at Calvert. What they pulled might even break." "It's fine," Marcus cut in gently but firmly. "Not worth a fight." Natalie seemed ready to argue but bit her lip instead, nodding. "If you say so." As the last few passengers boarded, Marcus caught sight of a teenager a few rows ahead, discreetly filming with his phone. The kid had likely captured the entire confrontation in first class, trying to stay subtle behind the seat. The plane quickly filled, and the flight attendants began the safety demonstration. Marcus's eyes drifted forward to first class, where Catherine now served drinks with a kindness she had never spared him. And there he was, a tall, silver-haired man whose frame still radiated the strength of years of discipline, despite the tailored suit failing to hide a soldier's bearing. General Robert Huxley. The same Huxley who'd once been a wounded lieutenant saved by Marcus's refusal to leave him behind. The same Huxley who later destroyed Marcus's career. Their eyes locked across the plane, a spark of shared memories and unspoken charges flashing between them. Huxley turned away then, accepting a glass of scotch from Catherine with practiced charm. Marcus felt a quick spike in his heart rate, the only sign of the adrenaline surging through him. Huxley's presence was no accident. Nothing about that man ever was. As the captain came on over the intercom to announce their imminent departure, the plane began to taxi. Marcus leaned back, mind racing. Whatever Huxley's scheme was, Marcus was only a piece on his board, and pieces were made to be sacrificed. When they reached cruising altitude and the engines settled into a steady hum, Huxley listed on his ticket as Mr. Turner pulled out his phone. Before anyone could notice, he quietly switched it to airplane mode. A secure notification blinked on the lock screen. "Marcus on board. Proceed with echo protocol. 45 minutes. Huxley's lips thinned for a heartbeat before he composed himself, typing a single word in reply, Confirmed. Then he deleted both messages. He slipped the phone back into his jacket pocket, accepting a glass of bourbon from Catherine with a polished grin that never touched his cold, calculating eyes. In the narrow galley between first class and coach, Catherine checked to see no passengers were close by before producing a cheap burner phone from her uniform. It buzzed once, and she answered quickly. "Yes," she breathed, turning her back to the cabin. The black veteran in the olive coat, a distorted voice rasped on the line. "Push him until he snaps, make it public, we'll take it from there." Catherine swallowed hard. "I already sent him to economy." "Not enough. He needs to lose control, in front of everyone. Use any method." The call ended abruptly. Catherine closed her eyes for a moment, took a calming breath, and then reset her professional smile before returning to her duties. Further back in the plane, Natalie was studying the faded flag patch on Marcus's sleeve with evident interest. "That patch," she said, gesturing toward it, "looks like it's been through hell." Marcus glanced at the worn stars and stripes. "It has." Army? Natalie asked, though it was clear she already knew. He nodded. "My dad was Army too," Natalie shared. "2 deployments to Iraq." Marcus's eyes softened slightly. "He make it home?" A shadow passed over Natalie's face. "No, not really." She didn't elaborate, and Marcus didn't ask. The silence between them was not uncomfortable, just heavy with the shared language of loss. After a pause, Natalie pulled out her phone, scrolling through her feed. Marcus noted that she typed in his name and subtly shifted his body to give her some privacy. Her eyes widened as she read through declassified documents, dishonorable discharge, shadowy accusations of insubordination tied to a classified op, hush-hush congressional hearings, a decorated soldier's reputation left in ruins. She glanced at Marcus, questions forming, but his distant expression made her swallow them. Instead, she scrolled on, searching through conflicting records about the quiet man sitting beside her. 3 rows ahead, Commander Ryan Chase leaned toward the SEAL to his right, speaking so softly only another trained operator would hear. "Huxley's on board." "So is Marcus." "Something's off." The younger SEAL, Carter, gave the faintest nod. "Orders." "Observe for now," Chase answered, "but stay sharp. This is no accident." Chase briefly looked back toward Marcus, their eyes locking for a moment. There was history there, respect forged in operations no one would ever admit happened. Chase had never trusted the official story about Marcus's disgrace, the Marcus he knew would never leave innocence behind. Marcus shut his eyes, though sleep was impossible. Behind them, memories replayed like old newsreels. South Sudan, 5 years ago a covert extraction mission had turned to chaos. A rebel force surrounded the village housing American aid staff. Marcus's team was ordered in, get them out, quietly, no media, no headlines. But the number of civilians on the ground had been far higher than intelligence reported, dozens more, terrified and helpless. Huxley, then a rising star commanding his first big mission, had ordered Marcus to take only the Americans, abandoning the locals to certain death. "We don't leave innocents to die, sir," Marcus had responded, gunfire in the background. "Those aren't your orders, Reed," Huxley snapped, voice ice cold. "Extract the packages only." "That's an order." Marcus shut off the radio, proceeding to evacuate everyone he could. In the end, he saved 37 civilians, including kids plus the aid workers, and had physically carried a wounded Huxley out of a burning command center after rebels broke through. His thanks. Huxley buried the scandal of his own failed leadership, pinning the blame on Marcus instead: insubordination, endangering the mission, even fake evidence implying Marcus leaked intel to local warlords. The dishonorable discharge had been only the start. Huxley made sure Marcus's name meant betrayal in every important circle, closed doors in his face, and kept the truth buried. Marcus opened his eyes again as the plane jolted in sudden turbulence. The memory retreated, leaving behind only a bitter taste. At the rear of the aircraft, the third SEAL, Reyes, frowned. He felt faint vibrations through the floor, vibrations that didn't match any normal engine rumble. He retrieved a specialized device, running a fast scan. A strange heat signature from the cargo hold. "Commander," he whispered when he returned to Chase's side, "cargo bay is reading off. Doesn't match the listed manifest." Chase nodded. "Cross-check the logs, see if anything was loaded last minute." Reyes worked his tablet, disguised to look like standard airline equipment. "Confirmed an unregistered package put on 20 minutes before boarding." No details. Natalie, still reading on her phone, straightened suddenly. 2 rows ahead, a jumpy man in his 30s was fumbling with a laptop bag. As she watched, he got up, claiming a trip to the restroom, then paused next to a businesswoman who barely glanced at him. In a fluid motion, he swapped his bag with another identical one beside her seat, then headed back carrying the duplicate. Marcus caught the move too, his instincts screaming covert tradecraft. "Did you see that?" Natalie whispered. Marcus gave a small nod. "Stay here," he murmured, unbuckling his belt. He walked toward the rear lavatory with practiced calm. Once inside, he locked the door and scanned the cramped compartment. Years of fieldwork had trained him to see what others ignored. In under half a minute, he spotted a tiny device rigged to the air vent above the sink. It was no standard airline part. A transmitter, military grade, able to capture conversations throughout the cabin. Marcus carefully replaced the vent cover, leaving the device untouched. Better to let them think he was still blind. Knowledge was power, and he needed every advantage. In the cockpit, Captain David Parker was doing routine checks when his co-pilot, Chris Evans, frowned at the NAV panel. "Strange," Evans muttered, tapping the display. "We're picking up an override command." Before Parker could react, the navigation screen glitched, then stabilized, flashing a stark warning: "System override initiated." Autopilot locked in with a soft chime. "What the hell?" Parker tried to disengage, but nothing responded. A new line flashed across the screen: "Maintain current heading. Do not alter course." "Go to backup," Parker ordered, tension creeping into his voice. Evans flipped switches in rapid succession, muscle memory guiding him despite growing fear. Nothing. No response. "We've lost control of our own plane." Parker grabbed for the radio to contact air traffic control, but only static hissed back. "We're being jammed," he realized, his face pale. "This isn't random. Someone's doing this on purpose." Back in coach, Marcus returned to his seat, his face calm as stone. Natalie looked up at him, worried, but he only gave a subtle head shake. "Not now," he said quietly. The plane pushed westward, its passengers oblivious to the invisible countdown underway. 45 minutes, that was all Marcus had to find out what was coming and stop it. In first class, Huxley swirled the last of his bourbon and glanced at his watch. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Soon Marcus Reed would be erased from the world, not just disgraced, but utterly destroyed, leaving no trace of what happened in South Sudan or any of the other twisted operations Huxley had twisted to his benefit. He smiled faintly, gazing at the endless blue sky. By the time this flight landed, his legacy would be untouchable and the last witness to his crimes gone forever. Marcus looked toward first class, feeling Huxley's presence like a heavy pull. Whatever scheme the general had built, Marcus understood one thing without doubt: time was against him. The teen vlogger up ahead kept filming, unwittingly gathering a timeline that might become crucial evidence, recording Catherine's uneasy glances, the SEAL's silent signals, the courier's subtle bag swap. Pieces of a far bigger plot were locking together with every passing minute. Outside, the sky was cloudless and serene. Inside, a storm built silently. Marcus checked his watch, 40 minutes left. In the rear galley, a flight attendant cracked open a cabinet and froze inside. Taped against the back wall, a digital timer counted down in silence. She slammed it shut in shock and hurried forward, unaware she had glimpsed only one part of something far worse. Marcus felt the faintest shift in the plane's course, so subtle most would miss it, but he noticed. He looked out Natalie's window, noting the sun's position. They were no longer heading true west. That meant the window he'd hoped to work with had just closed. Commander Chase picked up on it too, meeting Marcus's eyes and giving the smallest of nods. It had started. Natalie noticed the tension in Marcus's posture. "Is everything all right?" she whispered. "No," Marcus answered quietly, scanning the passengers, "but it will be." He hoped he wasn't lying. Up in first class, Huxley set down his empty glass and nodded to Catherine as she passed. Her hands shook slightly as she took it, a detail the general didn't miss. "Stay steady," he told her in a silky, dangerous tone. "We're just beginning." Catherine forced her bright smile back in place, her mask cracking from within. This had already gone far beyond what she'd bargained for. The plane banked gently on its new heading, passengers still unaware they had become chess pieces in a brutal game of vengeance and hidden sins, a game where the stakes were measured in human lives, not money or power. 35 minutes remained until Echo Protocol would be fully unleashed. 35 minutes for Marcus to stop a man who had already shattered his life once before. The clock was eating away at him. Marcus looked down at his watch again. 32 minutes left. Time to act. He caught Chase's eye, giving the slightest tilt of his head toward the galley. Chase read the silent message perfectly. "Meet me in the back." "I need to stretch my legs," Marcus told Natalie, who was still reading about his supposed crimes. "Back in a moment." Natalie looked up, worry plain in her bright green eyes. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Marcus replied, calm as ever though urgency coiled inside him. He moved through the aisle with the quiet confidence of a man used to passing unnoticed even in close quarters. The teen with the phone tracked him for a few seconds before turning his lens back to the cabin. Chase joined Marcus in the galley a minute later, angling his posture so they looked like two random men waiting for the restroom. His face was relaxed, but his eyes were sharp and wary. "This isn't random," Marcus said in a low voice, barely carrying over the engine hum. Chase nodded. "Huxley's using the name Turner. My team spotted him at the gate." "I know," Marcus answered, locking eyes. "If I die on this flight, they'll call it a hijacking." Chase didn't look shocked, just grim. His face hardened. With a grim nod of understanding, Chase replied, "After Sudan, I believe he'd do exactly that." The confirmation sent an icy shiver down Marcus's spine. If Chase trusted his word without hesitation, things were even worse than he'd feared. "Timeline?" Chase asked. 4 minutes from liftoff, Marcus answered. "We're down to about 30 now." Chase scanned the positions of the flight attendants before answering, "My team's on standby." "What's the plan?" "Stay low profile for the moment," Marcus advised. "There's something suspicious in the cargo hold. Your man Reyes picked up on it." "He's sharp," Chase confirmed. "I'll dispatch him to check it out." "And you?" "I need to figure out what's in that swapped laptop bag," Marcus said. Chase nodded. "Watch yourself. That chief stewardess has been on you since the start." "Catherine," Marcus replied. "Yeah, she's involved somehow." "If you need a distraction, we can make one," Chase offered. "Not yet. Too many civilians," Marcus cautioned. His gaze swept over the cabin, crowded with more than 100 oblivious passengers, no clue of the danger surrounding them. "Keep it discreet until we have clearer intel." They parted without another word, Chase rejoining his operators while Marcus made his way back to his row. As he crossed the mid-cabin section, Catherine blocked his path, her practiced smile replaced with a hard, cold stare. "Sir, we've received reports of you intimidating other passengers," she announced in a loud, clear voice, ensuring nearby travelers turned to stare. Marcus froze, immediately recognizing the setup. "I haven't spoken to anyone except my seatmate," he answered calmly. "Multiple passengers say they feel threatened by your behavior," Catherine continued, her voice pitched for maximum effect. "Please return to your seat immediately." From the corner of his vision, Marcus spotted a man in a dark jacket rising from a seat, the second air marshal on board. The first had been easy enough to spot during boarding, but this one had stayed hidden, and his hand was now drifting toward his sidearm. Marcus recognized that body language instantly. "I'm heading back to my seat," he said evenly, lifting his hand slightly to show no threat. The last thing he could afford was to get tackled or worse, shot before exposing Huxley's scheme. As he passed Catherine, she hissed under her breath, "Next time won't be a warning." The teen vlogger had caught the entire moment on camera. As Marcus walked past, the kid whispered, "Man, that was messed up." "I got the whole thing recorded." Marcus nodded faintly. That video might become evidence later if there was a later. Back at his seat, Natalie stared at him wide-eyed. "What was that all about?" "Just a piece of a bigger mess," Marcus replied, buckling in again. He nodded toward her phone. "You've been looking me up." Natalie flushed, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. When I saw how they treated you, I got curious." And contradictions," she admitted. Decorated veteran, multiple commendations, then suddenly a dishonorable discharge under sealed proceedings. Something about Sudan. Marcus kept his face neutral, but his eyes went hard. "Official records aren't always true." "I've figured that out," Natalie said, lowering her voice. "That man with the swapped bags, I think I can get into the laptop. The woman he gave it to just left it under her seat when she went to the restroom." Marcus studied her. "Why help me?" "Because something's really wrong on this plane," Natalie said with unexpected resolve. "And I think you're trying to fix it." Marcus weighed the risk. Natalie was a civilian, but time was slipping away, and he needed that data. "You think you can access it without drawing heat?" Natalie nodded confidently. "I used to help my dad repair computers. I know how to break through simple security." "Do it," Marcus decided. "But stay sharp. These people aren't amateurs." Natalie slipped out of her seat, smoothly grabbing a water bottle that had rolled under the next row. As she bent down, she neatly retrieved the laptop bag hidden under the empty seat, returning to Marcus with it pressed close against her side. In one practiced movement, she handed it to Marcus, who concealed it under his jacket on his lap. "Keep an eye out," he instructed, opening the zipper just enough to peek inside. The laptop was standard business issue, but attached to its port was a military-grade external drive, the kind used for secure, classified material. Marcus recognized the encryption signatures instantly. "I need a few minutes," he told Natalie. "If the woman comes back, make a diversion." "Already got a plan," Natalie replied, holding up the water bottle with a conspiratorial grin. "Accidental spill, coming right up." In the cargo compartment, Reyes had made it through the maintenance hatch, scanning the dimly lit hold with his phone's flashlight. He moved carefully among the suitcases and crates. A thermal imaging app on his device pointed him to a bland metal case bolted to the bulkhead, marked with multilingual hazard warnings. Reyes snapped quick photos of the numbers and warning labels, then crept closer. As he did, a motion sensor on the case clicked to life, a faint hiss venting from a microvalve. Reyes' instincts kicked in instantly, but the colorless, odorless gas spread too fast. He stumbled, fighting the powerful sedative flooding his system, but after a few seconds collapsed to the deck unconscious. Pop-up on his phone. "Intruder handled. Cargo secure." He smirked faintly and typed back, "Proceed with extraction. Record him if possible. Use the gas if needed." He slipped the phone away, smoothed his expensive suit, and stood with the calm authority of a man used to command. Approaching the cockpit, he showed a badge to the attendant there. "Federal Air Marshal Director," he said smoothly. "I need cockpit access under emergency override." The attendant hesitated, but only for a moment before letting him pass, never realizing the ID was as fake as his name. In economy, Marcus had powered up the laptop. As expected, the encryption was robust, but Natalie showed surprising skill bypassing the surface layers. "My dad taught me a few things," she explained, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "Plus I interned with the cybersecurity team last summer." After tense minutes, the main drive unlocked. Marcus's heart sank as he read the contents. "These are troop movements," he murmured, scanning the maps. "But they're wrong. These units aren't actually stationed here." He pointed to an area showing American forces near the Russian border. "Why falsify positions?" Natalie asked. "Set up a false flag," Marcus said grimly. "Make it look like we're preparing an attack when we aren't." He kept searching the folders. "This is only part of it. There's more." As if on cue, Chase appeared by their row, looking tense. "Reyes is missing. Went to the cargo hold 20 minutes ago, no contact since." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Huxley's making his move. We need to." He was cut off by the sudden banking of the aircraft. The plane tilted, so slight most wouldn't notice, but to military-trained senses it was obvious. "We're off course," Chase confirmed in a low voice. Just then, Carter, another SEAL, hurried up. "Commander," Huxley forced his way into the cockpit with some kind of override batch. The pieces clicked together in Marcus's mind, sickeningly fast. He's taking command of the flight. We're nearly out of time. Natalie, still listening, suddenly gasped, opening a hidden folder on the laptop. "Marcus, you need to see this." She turned the screen to him. Inside were dossiers on every passenger on Flight 412, including Marcus. But one file jumped out: Operation Whiteout, Sudan Witnesses. "He's wiping out everyone who knows the truth," Marcus realized out loud. It's bigger than just me. Natalie went pale. My father Robert Bennett, he was one of those aid workers in Sudan. Marcus stared at her, shocked. Your dad was there. He died during that mission, Natalie whispered. They said he was killed because a soldier abandoned his post. Her eyes met his, a raw pain mixing with a dawning understanding. They blamed you. The moment was thick with unspoken questions, but before Marcus could reply, the oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling with sharp, metallic pops. Panic swept through the cabin as passengers lunged for them. Marcus's trained eye saw what no one else did, a faint vapor drifting through the ventilation system. Don't breathe, he shouted, springing up. It's a trap. Chaos spread instantly, screams filling the air. Parents fumbled with masks on their children, while flight attendants tried and failed to keep control. Marcus pulled his jacket up over his nose and mouth. It's not decompression, he called to those nearby. Leave the masks. Some passengers obeyed, their instincts trusting his authority. Others, conditioned by safety briefings, pulled their masks on and slumped over unconscious almost immediately. Natalie followed Marcus's lead, using her sweater to cover her mouth. What is this? Knockout gas, Marcus explained tersely. Not lethal, but it'll disable everyone who breathes it. Chase and his remaining SEAL reacted too, helping passengers pull off their masks and shield their faces. But the gas kept flooding the air, a near-invisible threat spreading by the second. Marcus's instincts kicked in hard. He reached for the overhead panel, his fingers finding a maintenance latch. With a violent pull, he ripped it open, exposing a knot of hoses and cables. Sir, you can't, a flight attendant tried to protest, but Marcus tuned her out, searching for the secondary airflow circuit. Years of sabotage training took over. He found the junction, yanked the connector apart, and felt the mist's flow slacken as the feed was severed, but damage was already done. Nearly a third of the cabin was unconscious, and others were barely holding on. Chase fought his way back to Marcus, moving slower, already showing signs of the gas's effects. I'm going for Reyes, he slurred, struggling for breath. Something's in that cargo. Take Natalie with you, Marcus directed, pointing to the young woman helping an elderly lady. She stays safe. Got it, Chase replied, his face set. And you? I'm going after Catherine, Marcus said firmly. She knows Huxley's playbook. They split again, each on their own path, as the aircraft kept drifting on its hijacked heading. Flight attendants, overwhelmed by panicking passengers, could not intervene. Chase grabbed Natalie and one surviving operator, moving toward the rear where the cargo hold hatch was hidden. Marcus moved forward, eyes scanning for Catherine in the confusion. He found her in the forward galley, frantically talking into a phone, unaware he was behind her. It's out of hand, she was saying, voice shaking. People are seizing this, wasn't he the... Marcus calmly took the phone from her grip and hung it up. Catherine turned, eyes huge, shocked to see him. What did Huxley promise you today? Marcus demanded, cutting off her retreat. I don't know what you're talking about, Catherine tried, slipping back into her rehearsed professional face. Sir, you need to return to your seat, we're experiencing. Drop the act, Marcus snapped. I know you're working for Huxley. I know about the gas. I know this flight isn't going where it's supposed to. I don't know, Catherine stammered as her practiced calm finally collapsed. They told me you were trying to crash the plane, she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. They said you were a terrorist, that you'd hijacked planes before. And you bought that, Marcus challenged. I looked up your record, Catherine insisted, voice cracking. Dishonorable discharge, suspected extremist ties, it's all there. All fabricated, Marcus shot back. By the same man who's in the cockpit right now. Catherine's eyes darted to the cockpit door, visible just beyond the galley. They said no one would get hurt, she admitted, her shoulders shaking. They just wanted to catch you in the act. I didn't know they'd hurt people. Marcus's jaw hardened. What's the real plan, Catherine? Where is this plane going? Some place called Site Delta, she said at last, defeated, guilt pulling her down. A private airstrip. Huxley told me it was safe, that it was just a training mission that went public. It's not training, Marcus corrected, voice grim. It's an execution. Meanwhile, Chase had reached the cargo hold with Natalie and Carter behind him. They found Reyes unconscious near a large metal container, breathing shallow but alive. What is that thing? Natalie asked, staring at the container Reyes had clearly been inspecting. Chase crept closer, studying the box without touching it. That's a biological containment unit, he said, recognizing the military seals. High-level security. Whatever's inside is classified and dangerous. Natalie glanced from the box to Reyes' limp body. You think this is tied to the gas in the cabin? Different method, Chase noted, pointing at a tiny valve on its side. This is built for direct release, not through the air system. His face darkened. But it's definitely connected. Carter checked Reyes' pulse. He's stable, but we need to move him. As they prepared to lift Reyes, Natalie noticed a tablet mounted on the side of the containment unit. Hold on, she told Chase as he reached for Reyes. There's data here. She carefully unclipped the tablet and switched it on, grateful for all she'd learned in her cybersecurity internship. It's locked, but maybe I can. Suddenly the tablet unlocked itself, flashing a security prompt. Command authorization detected. Welcome, Commander Chase. Chase exchanged a stunned look with Carter. They planned on us being here, he realized. This thing is coded to recognize me. The tablet opened a folder right away, labeled Operation Whiteout, Activation Protocols. Natalie tapped it, and a timeline unrolled showing every event now unfolding on the plane. Oh my God, she breathed, eyes wide. They planned everything, the gas, the course change, all of it. Her hands shook as she scrolled down. There's more. Once we land at Site Delta, the real mission starts. In the main cabin, Marcus had pulled every scrap of information Catherine could give him, which was sadly little. He headed forward, determined to confront Huxley himself, when the teenage vlogger intercepted him. Dude, I've been streaming this the whole time. The kid said, wide-eyed, more excited than afraid. That flight attendant tried to frame you. I got the whole thing on video, and it's live. Marcus paused. Live? Yeah, I'm streaming, the teen explained, holding up his phone. My channel's got like 20,000 subscribers, they're all watching. On the screen, Marcus saw a flood of live comments rolling by, the viewer count already over 15,000. That changed everything. Witnesses, a public record, something they couldn't simply wipe away. For the first time since takeoff, Marcus felt a flicker of hope. Keep filming, he told the kid. Document everything. But stay safe. In the cockpit, Huxley was tracking secure communications when a subordinate's voice cut into his earpiece. Sir, there's a problem. The incident is being streamed. It's trending. Huxley's carefully calm expression cracked. How many viewers? 15,000 and climbing, sir. Civil rights groups are sharing it. Also, some of Walker's old unit members have spotted him and are speaking up. Huxley swore under his breath. This complicated the operation, but the objective still stood. Stay on plan, he commanded. We're too far in to pull back. Move to final extraction the moment we land. Deploy the gas again if necessary. Back in the cabin, Chase, Natalie, and Carter returned carrying Reyes's unconscious form. They regrouped with Marcus away from curious eyes. It's even worse, Natalie told Marcus, showing him the tablet. Marcus scanned the documents, his face growing darker with every word. False flag, he concluded. Once the gas kills a few passengers, they pin it on me. Then Huxley's private team rushes in and saves the day, Chase added grimly. Their security firm gets the $100 billion defense contract. But there's more, Natalie went on, her voice trembling. They're going to use this to launch a new bioweapons defense program. That container below it holds a bioagent not lethal, but enough to start mass panic. And I'm the perfect fall guy, Marcus said quietly. A disgraced vet with an axe to grind. Carter looked grim. We have to take back control before we reach Site Delta. Marcus nodded. But we have to play this smart. Huxley will have backups. Natalie was still watching the teen's live stream, now up to 40,000 viewers. People are demanding answers, she reported. Your name is trending, Marcus. A spark of determination returned to Marcus's eyes. Can we use that? I can do better, Natalie said, a fierce light in her face. She pulled out her own phone, opening a secure app. I have whistleblower contacts from my internship servers that can't be taken down. As Natalie worked to upload everything, Marcus and Chase planned their move to retake the cockpit. They quietly recruited a handful of passengers with military or law enforcement backgrounds. We've got 8 minutes before we hit Site Delta, Chase said after checking the tablet's navigation data. Once we land, it's all Huxley's territory. No press, no outside eyes. Then we move now, Marcus decided. Just then, the original pilot of Flight 412 approached. Captain Reynolds, who had been locked out of his own cockpit, kept his voice steady despite the chaos. I might be able to help, he offered. There's a backdoor to the cockpit override, an emergency protocol that was never put in the manual. He handed Marcus a napkin with a series of letters and numbers scribbled on it. It's a biometric override. You'll need to use the emergency panel by the door. Marcus stared at the code, an uneasy feeling creeping over him. Why would it accept my prints? Reynolds hesitated. Because, according to the flight manifest, your POM data was uploaded before we even left the ground. The meaning was horrifying. They planned the entire thing around me, Marcus realized. They wanted you to try to breach the cockpit, Chase said. It's a setup. Marcus nodded, putting the puzzle together. If I use that override, it seals their story, makes me the hijacker. But another idea was forming, risky but maybe their only chance. Unless, he said, we flip their trap on them. He turned to the group, decision firm. I'm going to use the override. But we'll rewrite the narrative. Steeling himself with the cold focus of a man who survived countless impossible missions, Marcus approached the cockpit door. This was at the moment everything would hinge on. He placed his hand on the biometric scanner, feeling the subtle hum as it read his print. The entire plan balanced on this theory that Huxley's arrogance had left a crack they could exploit. The scanner confirmed the read with a quiet beep, the green light flashing 3 times, then holding steady. A mechanical lock disengaged with a click as the emergency override panel came alive. "I'm in," Marcus said calmly, though tension burned through his chest. Chase braced at the door, ready. "What next?" Marcus studied the alphanumeric keypad that appeared under the scanner. Reynolds' note had said, "This code should break the auto-route. It won't give full control, but it might buy time." Marcus typed the sequence with slow, measured precision. At first, nothing happened. Then the NAV system display next to the door blinked and corrected course, stabilizing away from Site Delta. "It worked," Natalie confirmed, checking the tablet. "Course is normalizing." Inside the cockpit, Huxley noticed the slight change in trajectory. He turned to the instrument panel, eyes narrowing when he saw the override flashing. "Impossible," he hissed, hammering at the keys to force the system back. When that failed, he grabbed his secure phone and called a number reserved for a chosen few. Walker's accessed the override, he snapped, fury barely contained. "Accelerate. I want him dead before landing." Back in the cabin, a nondescript passenger, the kind no one remembers even a moment later, got a text. He read it, deleted it, then stood up and strolled casually toward the rear lavatory, moving right past where Marcus and the team were gathered. Carter clocked him immediately, trained instincts noticing the measured steps, the ready stance, the constant scan for threats. "Marcus," he warned under his breath. 3 o'clock, moving. Marcus didn't glance over but shifted his weight subtly. "Natalie, get behind Chase." The assassin moved with sudden, lethal precision, realizing he'd been made. A carbon fiber combat knife appeared in his hand, the blade honed to slip past metal detectors, its diamond edge easily able to slice Kevlar. Marcus responded instantly, grabbing the attacker's wrist mid-swing and driving him back into the narrow galley. The assassin countered with a knee strike powerful enough to shatter bones, but Marcus twisted with the hit, rolling the energy off. In the cramped confines of the galley, they traded brutal blows, close enough to feel each other's breath. The assassin was highly trained ex-military, no doubt, but Marcus fought with the raw fury of a man protecting more than just himself. They crashed into a service cart, cups and paper napkins flying. The blade nicked Marcus's forearm, drawing blood, but he ignored the sting, focused entirely on finishing the fight. He countered with a crushing palm strike to the man's throat, momentarily staggering him, but the assassin recovered fast, reaching for a second weapon. Marcus saw the move coming, but before the killer could draw, Chase and Carter broke through the panic of fleeing passengers and joined the fray. At the first sign of violence, the 3 military-trained men slammed the assassin against the galley wall. "Who sent you?" Elijah demanded, voice like a blade. The assassin's eyes burned with defiance, then resignation. Before anyone could stop him, he bit down on a fake molar cyanide capsule. He convulsed, then went limp, dead before hitting the floor. "Professional," Anders noted grimly. "Black Ops." Elijah caught his breath. "Braxis throwing everything at us." Back in the cabin, word of the fight spread, and more passengers rallied around them. A businessman stepped forward. "Army Rangers, 20 years. I'm with you." A young woman added, "Emergency medical training, I can help." Others followed, a retired cop, a nurse, an off-duty firefighter, ordinary people stepping up. Harper had been organizing them efficiently. I've got teams helping the passengers affected by the gas, she told Elijah, and oxygen tanks are being distributed. Good work, Elijah said, genuinely grateful. Claire reappeared, arm bandaged, eyes red but determined. I want to help, she offered. I can pull the cockpit's communication logs, there's proof on them. Elijah studied her, wary. Why the change of heart? They said no one would get hurt, she whispered, gesturing to the injured. I didn't sign up for this. Elijah nodded at last. Go, but Davis goes with you. Anders pulled Elijah aside, showing him a secure feed. Braxa's calling the Pentagon, Harper confirmed, face pale. He's claiming you hijacked the plane. That's his endgame, Elijah realized. Force a military takedown and paint me as the terrorist. Harper held up her phone. Over 100,000 people are watching live. You're trending. Good, Anders added, pulling out a secure radio. I'll contact commanders who know you. They want to buy Braxa's story. Send everything, Elijah ordered. Video, evidence, all of it. Claire soon returned with Davis, holding a small recorder. I got it, Braxa's orders, everything. Elijah took it, hope rising. A sudden commotion. The teen vlogger ran up, breathless. Dude, they scrambled F-22s. He exclaimed, showing Elijah his phone. Orders to intercept us. How long? 10 minutes, tops, the kid answered, pale. They'll shoot us down, right? Not if I can help it, Elijah assured him. Harper spoke urgently from the laptop. Elijah, I found an encrypted file, Operation Reclamation. It's global, she said, eyes wide. He scanned it, fury building. It detailed a plan to stage bioteats worldwide to funnel money to Braxa's firm, with Flight 303 as the first proof of concept. He's using us as a test run, Elijah growled. Anders looked sick. If it works, they'll repeat it over and over. Then we send this to everyone, Elijah decided. FBI, Homeland, anyone who'll listen. Captain Reynolds' voice came over the PA, steady but tense. We've been declared hostile. Air traffic control says to prepare for military intercept. Panic swept the cabin, parents hugged children, people began praying. Elijah turned to Anders. We're out of time. What's the plan? I talked to the passengers, Elijah said, grabbing the intercom. He spoke calmly, steady as a rock. This is Staff Sergeant Elijah Walker. You deserve the truth. He laid out the whole conspiracy, Braxa's scheme, and their evidence, making no false promises, only a real chance. We have 7 minutes before fighters reach us, he concluded. Help us take back the cockpit and expose this. A wave of resolve rippled through the passengers. Under Harper's direction, they organized, caring for the injured, ready to help retake the controls. Through the windows, glints of sunlight flashed on approaching fighter jets. Time to move, Elijah told Anders and Davis. Harper, keep broadcasting. As they advanced toward the cockpit, Braxa's voice suddenly blared from the PA, using his cover identity. This is Federal Air Marshal Turner. Walker is a terrorist, do not help him. Murmurs rose, but the passengers weren't buying it anymore. Elijah seized the intercom. That man is General William Braxa, he said firmly. He planted the weapon. Check your phones, the evidence is out. The passengers, seeing the truth for themselves, sided with Elijah. The cockpit door swung open. Braxai stepped out, no longer hiding, cold fury in his eyes, a gun pressed to Captain Reynolds' head. "That's far enough, Walker," he barked. "It's over, Braxai," Elijah countered. "Everyone knows." "Nothing's over," Braxai hissed. "One word from me, and those jets light us up." Elijah advanced, hands visible. "That what you want die here?" Braxai sneered. "Always the hero. Just like in Sudan. You had to save everyone." "I saved you," Elijah snapped. "And you ruined me for it?" For a moment, doubt flickered in Braxai's eyes. "Those fighters will be here in 5 minutes, he warned. "I'm taking this plane to Site Delta." Harper's voice broke in. "We've uploaded Operation Reclamation, every news outlet is seeing it," she shouted. Braxai's focus wavered. Captain Reynolds took the chance, slamming an elbow into Braxai's gut and breaking free. Elijah lunged, grabbing for the weapon. The two men crashed into the bulkhead in a brutal fight, the gun going off once, sending plastic raining down but hitting no one. Anders and Davis dove in, helping subdue Braxai. They stripped away his gun and zip-tied his wrists. "Get the captain back in control," Elijah ordered, breathing hard. Reynolds, shaken but resolute, nodded. Anders showed him the tablet. "We bypassed Braxai's lockouts, the plane is yours." Reynolds hustled into the cockpit, co-pilot already working to stabilize the systems. Elijah glanced around. The nightmare wasn't over, but for the first time, it felt winnable. Already working to regain full control, Harper rushed forward, tablet in hand. "The fighters are closing in 2 minutes at most." "Can we contact them directly?" Elijah asked. Anders shook his head. "Not without military channels. But air traffic control might relay the message if they trust us." Captain Reynolds quickly radioed Denver Air Traffic Control, explaining the situation: hijacked but now secure, providing emergency authentication codes. Through the cabin windows, the two F-22s moved into escort positions, their presence both reassuring and terrifying protectors or executioners, depending on what they were told. Controllers asked for cockpit video confirmation. Captain Reynolds activated the camera, showing him and the co-pilot clearly in control. "Denver Control, this is Captain Reynolds of Flight 303, he stated steadily. "We have regained control, declaring emergency, requesting priority landing." After a tense moment, the reply came: "Flight 303, fighter escort will remain in place. Weapons safe. Cleared for emergency landing, runway 26 right." Cheers broke out among the passengers, though Elijah reminded his team, "We're not out of danger yet. Braxai still has friends on the ground, and that container is a threat." Anders nodded. "Davis and I will secure the cargo hold." Harper showed Elijah her phone. "FAA still marked us rogue. They're ordering us to hold for military contact on the ground." "Expected," Elijah said. "But we have what Braxai didn't count on: public exposure." "How many viewers now?" "Over 3 million, the teen vlogger answered. "Networks are cutting in. That mass audience was their best shield now, no easy cover-up." Captain Reynolds announced, "We'll land in 12 minutes. Please stay seated." Elijah went to check on Braxai, still restrained in first class. "You've lost," Elijah told him. "The truth is out." Braxai sneered. "You think this ends with me?" Reclamation has supporters everywhere. "Terrorizing your own citizens isn't security," Elijah shot back. "It's treason." Braxieli leaned forward, voice low. I die, you die. There's a backup device in the cargo hold, remote triggered. Elijah saw no bluff in his eyes and immediately alerted Anders. Braxieli says there's a backup explosive in cargo remotely activated. Anders responded fast. We'll need to access it before landing. Harper objected. The pressure during descent, you can't open the cargo hatch safely. Captain Reynolds cut in, I can depressurize it gradually, risky but possible. Elijah nodded. Do it? As the plane descended, Captain Reynolds carefully reduced the pressure. Once equalized, Anders and Davis dropped through the maintenance hatch into the dim cargo bay. Passengers braced for a rough landing while Harper directed them, keeping order. An older woman near Elijah gently touched his arm. My son was in Kandahar. You saved him. I never forgot. Emotion hit Elijah hard. Thank you, ma'am, he replied. In the cargo hold, Davis scanned containers and found a disguised explosive device, military grade with a remote trigger. Can you disarm it? Anders asked. I'll have to take out the receiver first, then the detonator. One mistake and no need to finish. With painstaking focus, Davis began disconnecting wires as the plane descended. Finally, receiver disabled, moving to the detonator now, he reported. Above, Elijah relayed the news to Harper. Braxieli, hearing this, strained against his restraints in fury. Seconds crawled by. Finally Davis's voice crackled in, device neutralized, we're secure. Relief swept the cabin. The worst was over, but they still had to land. Captain Reynolds announced final approach. Out the windows, passengers saw a ring of emergency vehicles and soldiers waiting. The landing was smooth, Captain Reynolds' skill clear as they rolled to a stop. They've cleared us, Harper confirmed. Even sent an escort to protect you. For the first time, Elijah felt hope. Braxieli was captured, the evidence secure they might actually win. But as the jetway connected, Braxieli made one last desperate move. Working at his restraints during descent, he slipped free and pulled a hidden ankle gun. His eyes locked on Harper, snarling, You. Elijah saw the weapon rising as if in slow motion. Harper froze. Elijah launched forward just as Braxieli fired. The bullet went wide, hitting a seat Claire, nearby, shielded Harper, taking the bullet in her shoulder. She collapsed, gasping, It's not deep. Elijah slammed into Braxieli, sending the small pistol skittering down the aisle, where Anders grabbed it. Braxieli twisted free, rising with feral strength. A brutal hand-to-hand fight broke out between the rows, years of rage erupting. Punches landed, memories of Sudan flashing through Elijah's mind, pulling Braxieli from that burning post, only to be betrayed later. Braxieli slammed Elijah into a seat, sneering, You could have had everything. Elijah answered with a blow to Braxieli's ribs, voice hard with conviction, I never wanted everything, just the truth. Braxieli's split lip curled with rage. If you'd just followed orders, left those civilians. I made the right call, Elijah interrupted, blocking a throat strike. You couldn't admit you were wrong. The teen vlogger kept filming, hands trembling, capturing a raw, brutal fight that no movie could replicate. Braxieli moved with ruthless precision, trained to kill with economy, while Elijah countered with raw resilience and adaptability. For a moment they seemed evenly matched, until Braxieli drew a hidden blade from his boot. Always have a backup, he hissed, slashing for Elijah's throat. Elijah barely dodged, grabbing Braxey's wrist and wrestling the knife away with brute force. With a painful twist, he forced Braxey to drop the weapon, which a passenger quickly kicked aside. Braxey headbutted him savagely, reopening a cut on Elijah's brow. Blinded by blood, Elijah saw Braxey sprinting for the emergency exit, parachute pack in hand. "He's going for the door," Harper shouted. Elijah lunged, tackling him hard before he could open the hatch. They crashed to the floor, winded, but Elijah pinned him down in a combat hold. "You'll stand trial," he growled. Outside, military police and FBI agents stormed the plane. Anders stepped forward. "We have a high-value detainee," he told the lead agent. The FBI team, shocked to see Braxey, hesitated until Elijah calmly raised his hands. "The evidence is all here," he said, nodding to Harper and the tablet, "and 3 million witnesses." The lead agent nodded. "Secure the general." As Braxey was led away, he spat, "This isn't over." "Yes, it is," Elijah replied. Applause erupted through the cabin. Harper, shaken but alive, gripped Elijah's hand. "You didn't just save us," she whispered, "you saved the truth." Weeks later, Elijah testified before a joint congressional hearing, broadcast live. Calm and resolute, he exposed the Sudan mission, Braxey's betrayal, and the conspiracy. Supporting testimony from Anders, Harper, and a remorseful Claire proved overwhelming. Several powerful figures were indicted, Braxey's defense contracts frozen, and his private firm dismantled. 2 months on, Anders and his team received commendations, while Harper's viral reporting earned a Pulitzer. Her documentary, Flight 303, The Plane They Tried to Silence, captured global attention. At Braxey's trial, he showed no remorse. Found guilty, the judge condemned him for betraying every principle of service. 6 months later, a memorial honored the few passengers lost to the bioweapon. Families approached Elijah with gratitude, thanking him for his courage. In time, his dishonorable discharge was reversed and his name restored, but Elijah chose a new mission instead, founding the Pathfinder Institute, a crisis leadership school for veterans. A year after Flight 303, Harper helped him build its curriculum, their shared experience forging a bond that grew deeper. One day, Elijah received a photo of a young doctor in Sudan with the note, "You saved me in 2020. Now I save others." It was the boy he carried from the fire, now grown and giving back. A quiet peace settled over Elijah at last. That afternoon, he stepped outside, breathing the crisp mountain air, and returned a salute from a young local boy. For the first time in years, Elijah Walker smiled truly, deeply at peace. Justice, hard won at 30,000 feet, had finally landed.